for being with us.
Thank you, Alan.
And also Howl, world premiere of all the footage. So how did you get involved in it? Let's find out first of all how this all happened.
The producers, Ed and Martin, had come to see the Season House at FrightFest 13, 3 years ago. And they loved the movie and then got in touch with me and said, we have this project, do you want to have a look at it? I thought, looked at the script, Howl, Werewolf movie. I was like, okay, this is interesting because my last film obviously was about the human horrors. And I read the script and instantly connected with it and saw a lot of what I could do to it. And, we met up again, we discussed the project, the direction that I wanted to take it. Originally it was a bit more humorous. And I said, I think we should totally take out the humour. There's a dark humour in there, there's a warmth to characters, but there was gags in there and sort of one-liners. We said, let's just go for a more realistic tone. And that's what they wanted. From the script, gone through many drafts, and other directors had been attached to it. And they'd, gone through the sort of darker versions and the lighter versions. And I came along and kind of gave my sort of tone and vision, which is exactly what they wanted to hear.
And Werewolves on a Train is probably the best way of describing it, but obviously it's a lot more than that. Can you just give us a brief description of what the story is?
Basically, we've got a bunch of passengers. They're on the last train out from Waterloo, and a few hours later, into the forest somewhere, they hit something. We start off from the perspective of Joe, who's just like a ticket collector. He's a bit of a sort of zero, everyone ignores him and he's not quite sure what he's doing in life, and he sort of goes up through this train checking people's tickets and they all ignore him, and he just gets himself slumped in a corner. So when the train hits something, the driver gets out and we kind of see what happens to the driver, but basically essentially all the passengers are like, what has gone on, what's happening. He has to step up in this situation, calm down the passengers from someone that is not very good at, he's not very social, he's not, a bit of a zero. Suddenly he has to step up and help all these passengers, and, it's a whole pack full of very interesting characters. But then basically there becomes a threat from outside, starts to, attack the train. And we're not kind of quite sure what is outside. There's a lot of panic amongst the passengers. They try to get off the train, something chases them back on. But essentially, for me, what was really interesting is not so much that it's a werewolf, it's about these passengers. How do they react to a threat coming in from outside?
They're not really traditional werewolves, are they? Because you don't want them howling at the moon. There's no silver bullet nonsense.
No.
And in fact, it's more like a virus, because when the passengers get bitten, it's like it sort of infects them in a way.
Absolutely. I didn't want big furry creatures. And I didn't want to go into all the sort of mythology of, like, say, the silver bullets and the change of that moonlight. And, I just said, let's just keep it as real as possible. And maybe these creatures, they've mutated from being bitten by another creature. And my feeling is, for what we kind of want them to look like, is that they started their transformation. Their bones have started to break and move. The muscles have started to change. The fangs have come out, the snout had come out. But they didn't get to that full transformation. I think we were sort of saying, instead of having something that is suddenly they transform in half an hour into a werewolf, it takes years. And so basically, it's a mix of sort of broken bones and weird musculature and stuff going on in the face. Just so it's kind of just different, because just from my prosthetics background, doing werewolves before and big furry werewolves, it's all been done. So we just wanted to kind of do something that kind of looked a bit different.
And the cast is amazing. It's like a real fabulous horror cast. You've got Sean McDonough from The Descent, of course, who you've worked with, numerous times. You've got, Ed Spielers from Aragon. He must have been a great one to have got.
Absolutely.
You've got Calvin Dean from Tormented.
Yes.
It's a Rosie Day from The Seasoning House. You've really got to, was it easy to get the cast involved in this?
Yeah, it was really interesting because, I'd worked with Shauna, I'd worked with Sean Pertwee, I'd worked with Rosie Day, I'd worked with Amit Shah, I'd worked with Calvin Dean. So most of them I'd worked with, and it was kind of funny going back to them and saying, got this script, really cool, and we think you'd be great in it. And so that was easy.
Ed from, Downton Abbey and now Wolf Hall, and of course Sean went off to do Gotham literally straight after this.
Absolutely.
So it's good to have him there as well.
Yeah.
What was it like actually filming them all together on a carriage? It must be quite claustrophobic.
Yeah.
It must have been quite hard to actually make a change with the scenes.
You know, it was one of those things where we built this interior of the train, and you know, it is essentially, you know, train along metal tube. So trying to block out with 9 actors, and because they're all so well written, you know, those characters are very much, they've all got their own opinion of their character. And if you've got, like, you know, 4 kids and they're all from high school, it's kind of easy to work all that out. But when you've got 9 characters that are just so different, that you know, it took quite a while to block out, what do you think your motivation will be, what do you think you're doing in this situation, you're manipulating the situation, but you're the actual brave one. So everyone had a very, very distinct way that they would react to those situations. So there was a lot of talking, a lot of blocking and trying to work stuff out.
Now, of course, I visited the set, a Croydon warehouse.
Yes.
Now, I thought it looked great. I mean, you told me that it was actually a bit of a sort of mixed blessing, really, filming there.
You know, it was kind of interesting because, you know, we looked at, you know, do we build a train and do we shoot on a real train? Do we, you know, do the exteriors on a train out in the forest? So there was lots of discussion on what we do, and we eventually found this huge warehouse. And there's a lot of logistical reasons not to shoot on a real train, even to shoot on the outside walking up the train. There's so many logistical problems there: electricity, crew, danger, health and safety. So we just said, let's just build a lot. We built the inside of the train, we built the outside of one side of the train, and we built a forest. And we've done 3 days in Black Park for the later scenes. But yeah, you know, I don't think anyone's going to look at it and think, is that the studio, let alone Croydon?
And how gore is it going to be? We know your background. I mean, is it going to sort of like live up to what the fans expect from a werewolf picture?
You know something? It's one of those things where it's not a gore fest, but it has moments. Being me, you know, I'm not gonna do something completely dry. We have the blood where it is, it's needed, and it's effective. I'm not sure if I can say these particular moments, but I don't think there'd be it's not very gory. You know, we've got the tense, we've got the thrills, we've got that sort of tension. And then, you know, we do have some killings. So there's a couple of moments where I think people are going to really like the gore.
And just last thing, I mean, the werewolves, as much as you can explain the look, I mean, you know, it's sort of augmented CGI.
Yes, it's a mix of prosthetic bodysuits and CGI.
Okay. So, and I know I've said this before because I've read it, but is this your Dog Soldiers? Is this going to do for you what Dog Soldiers did for Neil Marshall?
I hope it's as successful as Dog Soldiers, obviously. It was just, for me, you know, I'm kind of hoping it's going to be Dog Soldiers, because Dog Soldiers was a great werewolf movie that was very successful. So I would love it if my one was a great movie as well as successful. So,
great, Paul. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.